So, Cytotoxin have caused quite a bit of stir in the world of extreme metal ever since releasing Biograpthye earlier in 2025. In late autumn 2025, they were touring Europe and the package came to Manchester. I just knew I had to get myself down to the bread shed and see what it was all about. It had a pretty strong undercard with the likes of Osiah, Cognitive from the USA, and Portugal's Analepsy as special guests for the evening. So, before we get into the headliners, let's talk a bit about Cognitive, the opening act for the evening. Now, coming all the way from the USA, they came on stage at 6:30, quite early, and there was no messing around, no gentle introductions. It was straight into this heavy ass modern death metal, and it sounded great. I mean, I've been to the bread shed before, and the sound can be a bit patchy there, but I think the sound engineers definitely took a bit more time and they got the best out of Cognitive. Vocalist Shane had great presence. He was a central focus of the band, really. He was the one working the crowd. And the crowd was a bit cold, a bit older, maybe. So there was no unrealistic demands for circle pits and wall of deaths early on. He still felt engaged, still felt involved. And it was a good introduction to the band. And I definitely want to check out more of Cognitive after this show. Next up, it was British deathcore act Osiah. And to be honest, I thought they looked a little bit out of place on this lineup prior to the show, but they certainly proved me wrong. They were just as heavy, just as intense as any band on that show. And they worked the crowd slowly and slowly, and eventually we got our first pits of the evening, the first bit of chaos. Also, I noticed Shane from Cognitive, their vocalist, was watching from the sides. Eventually, he got involved with the pit. I think that's fantastic. Seeing other bands support other bands and really getting involved like that. It shows that it's not just a gimmick, it really is kind of like a way of life. Again, go back to Osier, they sounded fantastic. They got a bit of melody in there. They got some heavy ass breakdowns as well. And I want to show you this clip right at the end that really sums up just how brutal they were on stage. Next up, it was Analepsy, and they come with quite a fierce reputation, really. Speaking to people outside the venue, prior to doors, and a lot of them said they came just for Analepsy. And yeah, it was my introduction to the band, the first time I've seen them live. And I just felt like with Cognitive and Ossia, they brought so much energy, but I felt like some of that was sapped a little bit with Analepsy. They were a bit slower, a bit more bludgeoning. They still got some pits going. I think the crowd really got into them, but I just felt like something was missing. Again, at the side of the stage, I noticed all the other bands who had played that evening were stood there watching them. So that's always a good sign of respect from other bands and other musicians. I mean, they're really good at what they do, Analepsy, but I just don't think they were really my cup of tea, to be honest.
Manchester.
Then it was time for the headline act, Cytotoxin, and with no disrespect to the other bands, even though they're headlining, they were a significant upgrade and just several levels above everybody else. I think most of that came from the vocalist Grimo, who he was just an absolute juggernaut on stage. I mean, he was well over 6 foot tall. He looks like he's lifted a few weights in his time, and he had this really stoic and fierce look on his face and this gargantuan presence. I mean, he got the crowd involved. Definitely, he worked the crowd like a fiddle, really. And but although he had that kind of like fearsome presence, it felt like although he takes his music very seriously, and the whole band do, there's still a bit of sense of humour there. Felt like a stand-up comedy act at times. I think the best example of that was when he kept getting out this sort of roundabout sign to signal for a circle pit. I think that's a message that they don't take themselves too seriously, but It's that dichotomy, taking the music seriously when they have to, but not taking themselves as individuals seriously. As for the music itself, the technical death metal, I mean, it's so easy to get that wrong. It can, so precise. It can easily just sound like a bunch of technical mess, really, especially with the kind of double tapping on the guitars, that kind of thing. You can easily get that wrong. But the two guitarists and bassists, they were so in sync with each other, and the drummer as well was really in sync with the rest of the band. I think that laid the foundation for Grimo to have that interaction with the audience and to make everyone, yeah, feel involved. And yeah, it was just such a great show. I noticed that there was a lot of use of the green and yellow lights, which is something a bit nerdy, really, but something I picked up on. It's not something you really see with the bands, but they've got this kind of like gimmick that they're from Chernobyl and the kind of radioactive metal, whatever that is. But yeah, it's a little nerdy detail I picked up on there. Overall, I really did. I mean, the hype was pretty high, and I did wonder if this was going to be another sort of overrated, extreme metal band, but they definitely lived up to the hype. They've proved themselves to be one of the hidden gems in the genre, really. And yeah, it was just brutal. They should not be allowed to get away with this. So I just wanted to talk a bit about Rancid Offal Promotions and Hammerhead events who brought us this night. I mean, I'm wearing the Offal Fest t-shirt. I went there in early 2025 and it really opened my eyes to the world of extreme metal, really, back in July 2025. There was absolute world-class acts there, likes of Wormed, Skinless, Putridity, even on the undercard, the likes of Ancient Rivalry and Basement Torch Killings, which I've really liked. And it's made me think that there's just really this hidden gem, really, in Manchester. They've been operating under my nose, really, for the last few years, and I hadn't really noticed. And I think that they do things in the right way. In the fact that they charged, I think it was like 22, £23 for this night was, that sums them up, really. They could have easily charged a lot more, but they want to do things in the right way. They want to get as many people in as possible to really experience this. So you can tell money's not their primary objective. It really is just a love of extreme metal. That's why they really do get my backing. I've not been paid to do this. I've not been kind of asked to do this. I've just wanted to do it because I feel like it's the right thing, and I want promoters like that to be recognised for doing good in the scene.